but we also do option to invest in the US. Some part of Africa, we did some investment in Nigeria. And then in Turkey, we did quite a few investment. The very first one was Akakce. That's the largest shopping search company. We had a fortune to meet with the founder called Koray. And then second one, I would again have to thank startup Turkey team, Bragg, having me to Antalya for one of the events where I met with Barbaros, who is the founder of EasyPay. So those are the investment that we started investing, and afterwards also a company called Zibramo, that's C2C marketplace. All of those friends are running their businesses fantastically, and then hopefully we can do a little more in your country going forward as well.
Well, it was great to hear your background and also your investments in Turkey. We know all of those companies, of course, Akakce, Iyzico, and Zebramo very well. So could you please tell us about your experience in Antalya, in South Startup Turkey, when you first meet with Barbaros? Because Iyzico is, as you said, is one of the main exits actually happened in Turkey. It's a good success story for all the, I think, attendees and audience also. So, and it was very early times when you first met with him in Antalya. So could you please tell us about that as far as you remember?
Yeah, no, happy to. Well, first of all, I still really remember the beautiful location that hotel was located in front of the sea, where you can see the mountain there. So that was a conference of yours. And then since my background, first business that I built in Japan was quite similar to what Barbaros has built. It was an online payment business in Japan. Fortunate to have a lunch meeting with him for 27 minutes and within the sessions, and then hearing his background, his expertise and his passion. He was at that time in Germany, and coming back to his home country, to Istanbul, launch online payment business from scratch. So I really felt a strong empathy with him. So after 27 minutes, I made an offer of investment of $400,000, a seed check. So then story afterwards, you know the story. So it was kind of serendipity, but I believe serendipity happens with meanings. So I think I had to visit that place because of your invitation, and then met with great ambitious entrepreneurs who were just about to come back to Istanbul. And then I had this payment background, and then we had a lunch. So it happened that way.
Yeah, it's a good coincidence for all of us and for Turkish economy as well.
So before going to Outbreak, also Akakce is one of the successful stories in Turkey, Ankara, and Koray is a very leading founders in Turkey. So, and should you also share the Akakce story as well?
Yeah, so it was also quite coincidental. So again, my second background is online shopping platform. And then when I was looking at other global markets, typically in every country, there is always a local king, which I define it as a marketplace. And then there's always local queen, which I define it as a payment. And if the king and queen marries, then it's a big dynasty. So that's a kind of investment thesis I used to have. That's why also we invest in a similar domain in Indonesia, India, Vietnam, Philippines, everywhere. But after finding this kingdom is somewhat established, there are kind of time for princes. And then for me, the prince is this shopping search. because it enables people to find the products in a more easier way. So where there are several local kings, which actually exactly the case of Turkey. Same in Japan. We have Amazon, we have Rakuten, we have Yahoo Shopping, we have some others. So there are some local queens and actually global kings. So this prince can somehow sort all those somewhat competitions in some sense, but it can bring the benefit to a consumer so that consumers can do a quick search. So then, so I was having this team, and then got introduced to Korai, and then again with the very first meeting, we made an offer. Because I felt that he has been building a very dedicated shopping search business. And then also we felt a very much strong empathy just at the very first meeting. So that was how it started. So I still remember the place that I met him in a hotel.
And also, I mean, how is the latest situation in Asia about after the outbreak, this COVID outbreak?
Well, so definitely, so in this part of the world, especially in Southeast Asia as well as India, so the actual outbreak started around mid-March. And so, for example, India has done a very severe lockdown from 25th of March. So everything has been somewhat halted, especially in the business. And then, of course, people cannot travel in and out in those countries, including Singapore. So typically, late stage funding would happen with a lot of meetings and a lot of due diligence. Those are mostly stopped, unless it has been a kind of ongoing discussion maybe from last year. And then these announcements that have been announced in April for big funding is mostly the deals that had been done like 3 months ago, 4 months ago. But also in past 2 weeks, I started seeing some more appetites coming up for this region, of course, from regional investors, as well as some Japanese investors as well as some Chinese investors, Korean investors. So these countries mostly have somewhat experienced the first wave of this COVID infection, right? So now it's of course, somewhere into the second wave. But I think it's getting better compared, sentiment itself is getting better compared to end of March. So I would assume that there'll be, toward the summer, there going to be a little more activity. And in fact, we as BEENEXT is also writing some new term sheets in past 2 weeks. So for first maybe 7-8 weeks, we have been really fire shooting with the existing companies that we have invested. But most of the companies have secured a runway, or had taken a lot of necessary measures. So now we also started some a new investment as well. So I think this sentiment will be going on towards summer.
Do you think that investors change their interest in the domains or sectors of the startups that they want to invest after the corona thing, or they are still strict on their own mandates, etc.?
Yeah, so within our team, so we call BC and AC, and then BC stands for before corona, and then AC stands for after corona. Yeah, and then I think there's a fundamental digital shift which is irreversible. It's more like a digital tsunami. So all the industry segments would be shifted for remote, of course, including remote working, for online shopping, online delivery, for telemedicine, for online education. As of course, as CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella has mentioned in his last financial call, said 2 years of change has happened in 2 months, right? So this is a fundamental digital shift which would not go back. So what we see in the market, as well as the investors' interest, is those businesses who can enable that type of digital shift of any type of businesses are gaining more interest, which has been there, but the acceleration that we see in terms of interest is definitely there. So the internet used to be a kind of sector from a financial point of view, but now it became really the economy itself. So I'm pretty hopeful. Any businesses, of course, we have to survive first of all.
Yes.
But after survival, there'll be mid and long term tide for anything digital or digital enabling businesses. So that's my view.
So are you going to change AC after Corona, that the sectors and verticals that you have invested earlier, or are you going to still stick on the sectors and verticals before Corona?
Well, it's actually quite similar. We have been investing in marketplaces which enables buy and sell activities of product, fashion, B2B, cars, real estate, jobs, so which is all digital enabling services. So those are kind of a same theme that we would chase for in each country, where we haven't done investment in some of those segments yet. But definitely there's the upsurge demand from each country for online healthcare, because this is very substantial demand for the safety, as well as online education shift, because typical education has been what is the slowest, because it needs to be involved with some government regime and not anything else, right? But I think those discussions have been somewhat not skipped, but accelerated. So we see quite a significant demand and usage in online education in countries like India, Indonesia that we are in. So I think we would do a little more new age of those online healthcare, online education type of companies going forward. We have done some, but I think we would do more. That's another. And then just really kind of sub-segment that we look at is also, because of this emergency from the society, we see quite a lot of deregulations of tech-enabled businesses. For example, this telemedicine itself is the same. So in before this lockdown in India, which was announced 25th of March, this telemedicine in that country has been kind of great. Of course, people, and actually we did one investment in that segment, knowing that it's a little gray. But on the same day of Prime Minister Modi announcing the lockdown, they actually deregulated this telemedicine business. And actually, they even promoted for those remote consultation. So there are quite the similar thing is also happening in Indonesia now. So Japan also. Japan in April, it also happened. So I think this brought by the emergency, I think this deregulation perspective, which has been pretty stagnant due to the regulation or incumbent pressures, it's becoming opening up in most of the countries where we see actually quite a lot of investment opportunities.
And you have been different countries and continents. So you can easily kind of see the differences between cultures, economies, and compare, especially the economies and the internet economies.
Right.
How is the US culture and Asian culture, Southeast Asian culture, and Japan versus Asian culture?
Well, that's a very difficult question. Well, yeah. Yes, actually, as you mentioned, right, and I'm thankful for you to mention. So exactly. So what makes us unique is this wide coverage of the regions. Of course, our common underlining theme is anything digital, great founders, big local market, good macro growth. Those have to be fulfilled. But other than that, we have been pretty flexible in investment because we see differences, as you mentioned, Brad. And then there's some time gap because of maybe the GDP per capita or the infrastructure, including mobile telecom infrastructure, logistic infrastructure, banking openness. So there are some differences which makes combined aggregated differences in timing. So maybe timing differs between 6 months to maybe 4 or 5 years. Maybe not 4 or 5 years these days, but 3 years. So we see quite a bit of differences. Culture-wise or entrepreneur-wise, well, I think first of all, this cost of innovation has been dropped significantly every year or every day maybe. So when I was launching my business 20 years ago, you have to invest several millions of dollars for servers. Now you just need a credit card, right? And there are a lot of open source which are available. So you have to just combine, just create the minimum viable product. So I think that's like one common sense. Second, I think U.S. Innovation is more. Of course it's very difficult to generalize, but I think still very much technology-wise, it's very advanced, including machine learning technology, deep learning algorithm itself is very advanced. But when you look at China, the implications or utilization of those deep tech are very advanced because of the large population. Quite easy to try to something new unless it violates a very fundamental value of the country. And then in India, Southeast Asia, where we call still emerging Asia countries, apart from some country like Singapore, which there are still a lot of problems. So I call it as a problem-solving innovations rather than technology-driven innovations. So we see the problems in healthcare. The number of hospitals or number of doctors in India is much lower than that of other countries, for example. So telemedicine has to be the solution. So this problem-solving innovation is another interesting aspect for those emerging market, and where we also see a significant digital leapfrog because it anyway mostly jumps some of the stages of the tech adoptions. So that's maybe my brief overview of my analysis. Japan, maybe Japan is Japan is pretty different. So it's of course developed market, sophisticated market, high touch country. The consumption is also, the consumers have very severe eyes for the quality of products. But economy has not grown, unfortunately. The GDP itself has not grown for more than 25 years. So what we see there is actually, because GDP is defined as population times productivity. And it's hard to imagine that population, that country is currently 130 million population, which has been decreasing since 2008. I cannot imagine that it will go up to, like 150 or, from here. So that means we need to increase the productivity. And how to increase the productivity? It's tech. So we invested quite a bit of like 30 companies in Japan in past 5 years, which are mostly software as a service domain. SaaS for construction industry, SaaS for HR, SaaS for accounting, because it has a very much local custom there in that country, my country. So the local entrepreneurs tend to do relatively well compared to other global players in that market. So that's actually how we, identify our investable opportunities in Japan.
Also, you have background in SoftBank. Did you have have chance to work with Masayoshi-san, what do you think about the SoftBank strategy about the internet companies?
Yeah, well, so for the very first payment business that I was one of the founding member of 3 members, it was actually a joint venture with SoftBank. So it was 1997. And then since then, of course, Masayoshi-san, Son-san is always our superhero. Because without him, this mobile internet or broadband internet or internet business itself in Japan has been not this advanced. So that's anyway one we have a full respect. And then for just in terms of investment, we did some joint projects like this Tokopedia. That's the largest marketplace in Indonesia. Where we invested 9 years ago as a seed. Sorry, that was a Series A. And then SoftBank came in after 3 years. So we do have a joint project in these emerging Asia countries. So I think what SoftBank has brought to the table is really acceleration of digital innovations, because of course it's a matter of time the digital innovation happens. But it actually shortened the period of change. So when we raised $100 million for Tokopedia from SoftBank plus Sequoia team, before and after that investment, the growth has been completely different. Of course, fundamentally, the team has built superior platform for local or marketplace buy and sell transaction businesses. But with their support, we managed to accelerate the growth. So I think the key value that SoftBank has brought in the market is acceleration in innovation as a whole. So hopefully, we could do more and more. Of course, we need to have some clarity for this Vision Fund too. But hopefully we could do more and more, because we need to accelerate the innovations to solve the problems.
Okay, well, Teru, I'd like to go back to startups area a bit more. And you said that that we all need to survive first this corona thing. And how do you think startups could survive and could manage to continue their business in this corona days?
Right. Well, I think since it has been already 2 months or 2.5 months in most of countries the outbreak has happened. So I believe most of the startup companies have taken their own measures to adapt to the new normal. And then I would guess that a lot of companies also have done cost reduction because typically startup business in general have a loss period. So if we cannot fundraise, then we'll be up. So I think most of companies have done an extension of the runway. So anyway, that's a defense that we would anyway have to do. So I think that's mostly done, I guess. And then now, in some countries, of course, lockdown is getting a little eased. But more importantly, in my view, is not to just get back to what we are before, but there should be some signal of changes in your customers. Maybe it could be the demography of the customers, or how your customers access to your services, or the price elasticity on your services, or maybe different value that they find on your platform. So if you are running maybe several product lines, maybe it used to be the product A has a higher attention. Maybe it was a kind of the largest customer acquisition channel for your ecosystem. But maybe product B nowadays is becoming more popular or if you push it harder, it will be the number one. So I think there should be some signal of changes or signal of new trends, new perception, or new demand. So really to capture with high sensor as an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur have a very good sensor, right, to detect the changes, and then build or rebuild or reorganize. Sometimes maybe repurpose the technology that you have. If you have this machine learning technology for I don't know, like image recognition, but you used to do it for, I don't know, for marketing purpose, but maybe for different repurposing, utilization of a different purpose. So I think we should be creative as possible, and then open our eyes to those real changes that are happening and that would happen in next 1 to 3 months, and then rebuild or reorganize and the best fitted situation that we should create for the new change, because it's gonna be reversible. So this BCAC, somehow, some way, there's a change. So we need to adapt to the changes.
Did you get together all your portfolio companies and share these insights?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we organize. I got an inspiration from you. So we organize our global founder camp every year, gathering our investee companies, portfolio company co-founders only. And then we make offline camp. So last year we had a 5th one. 4th one we had it in Vietnam. 3rd one we had it in Bangalore in India. And the 5th one last year in November. For the first time we had it in Tokyo. And there are 200 co-founders came across 16 countries. And it was just amazing to see our friends. Of course, there is a company of $10 billion business. There's a company of millions of dollars in a $1-2 million business, but we are same. We are entrepreneurs, right? So we have this community, and then of course, but after March onward, we could not meet offline. So we organized multiple, or we call it Be Global Camp, but we Be Global Camp online, thanks to those video conference system like Zoom. So we managed to run a lot of those knowledge sharing. We have a huge Facebook group, WhatsApp group of our founders where we share a lot of best practices. Sometimes we also transfer, if some company A have to lay off people, but maybe some company B is hiring. So amongst our community of founders, we actually doing these kind of support each other, which is just really great.
In your portfolio, with your past experience, there are some successful stories and also failures. What are the difference between these stories? If you see meeting a new startup to invest, can you realize the differences between successful and failure?
Well, I think there are some patterns. In most of the cases, now we're also learning, how to fit into the, because every business sounds interesting, right? And then founders are super committed. So we can be better, and we're trying to be. But just try to answer your question. So anyway, I think what we like is the founders who have long-term vision. So we don't typically invest in the companies that founders want to sell after 3, 4, 5 years. Of course, sometimes when M&A happen, but that was not the design from the beginning. So long-term vision, and then founder is always the driving force of the success of the next talent. So of course, strong passion, good cause, that's of course has to be there. and then maybe some good stubbornness with flexibility. So it sounds contradictory, but I think building startups is a management of contradiction. Like because speed is there, you have to deliver the speed, but also you have to make sure that you have a good quality. And the quality and the speed, it sounds contradiction, but we have to manage both too, right? So founders who can manage those contradictions and within themselves as well, maybe stubborn, but also good listener. So these kind of characters of founders we try to sense, and that's, I think, maybe one another way. The failures, I think failures of our investment is typically when we make an investment because others are investing. And then it's becoming lesser for our case, but I admit that there are some. And then these cases, because it's a commitment play. So you can really commit for their long-term journey that you would be together for like 5, 7, 8, or 10 years. So I think good to have a strong commitment, sense of commitment with that company when we make an investment. But let's say if you jump in the deal because others are investing, then it's quite difficult to maintain the this empathy or passion. So that is actually not good both sides. Maybe of course for the founder side and also for our side. So we tend to really we try to make at least our own decisions and then own conviction, not from consensus, but a conviction.
So there is no investment committee that decides, but it is a hunch mostly. Do you decide by yourself?
Well, so we are now in a more formal venture capital fund, which we have a lot of institutional investors from other countries. So we do have a IC, but how you run the IC, or how we run IC is quite different. Yes, it's very much conviction driven and also commitment driven. So we are now a partner of 4 who are engaged with investment. And of course, there are a lot of discussions or sometimes arguments. But at the end of the day, if one of us, the partner, really want to commit and has a super strong conviction, then I think that's a good sign. So then that person would be responsible for that company, and we as a firm will be also responsible to continue supporting that company that we made a decision to invest. So that's a kind of more organic, not hierarchical or too much bureaucracy. We have no bureaucracy. We have no politics, but but conviction really has to come at the first place, so that we can make a very quick and confident and comfortable decision makings. Mm-hmm. So maybe style has not been changed from Antalya days, but we do write a little bigger check these days, starting from some $100,000 to $3 to $4 million for the first check. So we are becoming more institutionalized, but passion is more like very same.
Yeah. Great. And what kind of sources are you using to find startups? They usually apply to you, or do you meet them in the events, or do you use references? How do they reach you?
Right. So for past 5-6 years, I would say 80% of our new deals are from referrals. Referrals from our founders that we have backed, or referrals from the co-investors that we have co-invested. So because they know how we play, how we support the companies. So in matter of fact, actually, we have invested more than 120 companies in past 5 years. So in each country, in most of those core market that we play active role, we have a pretty good network that we can also trust with. And then hopefully, I want to believe that we are providing some contribution to each country. So 80% of deals are referrals, and then 20 are random. Like of course, we get a lot of inquiries, a lot of cold calls, and we are a team of now 18. So some of my team look at, depending on the country, some of the team would look at, and then I would also meet. But we try to spend not too much time for our decision making again, because again, this is not only the story that I mentioned, but also time for the entrepreneurs is the most precious resource. So if we lose, or if we use too much time of the entrepreneurs for the fundraising, and if he's not investing, or if we know that we are not investing, I think we should tell them very quickly, because they don't have to waste their time. So we are very time conscious, and then especially for the founder time. So we try to make a very quick decisions, not only for us but also for the sake of founders.
And you have two hats, entrepreneur and investor. Which one do you consider yourself more stronger, entrepreneur or investor?
Don't know.
And which one is more difficult?
Yeah, so when I started doing a little more professional type of investment, it's been 9 years. And then my whole career is 23 years. So maybe still another 5 years to balance to, in a mixture. So maybe, but an investor with the entrepreneurial heart is really what I want to also carry over for me in the future, as well as my whole team, as our slogan is really a partnership of the founders, by the founders, and for the founders. And what we're proud of is, of course, those founder community that we have built, and we are fortunate to, have such a trusted community. But also, quite a lot of founders whom we have backed in the past 10 years became also our LPs. And they're still running their businesses in each country. And then they're becoming pretty prominent and well-known, pretty famous, right? But it's great that we have their support. And then they can be a natural mentor for founders. So it's more like a paying forward cycle. And the underlining theme is we value the entrepreneurship. So this is a community that I want to extend into more other countries going forward in the future.
And last question: what motivates you to wake up in the morning?
These days,
and I mean. The rest of the life.
Yeah, these days, it's super stable, wake up time, and then so it's becoming very much organized lives. Hopefully, I can start traveling again, because last year I was traveling like more than 130 flights per year. So I was flying every 3 days. Now in past two months, no flight, right? So more stable, more healthy, to be honest. But yeah, of course, there are always new ideas and new people, and it's always just simply amazing to listen to and learn, what the people are onto or committing to, and then especially the rate of change that is brought by technology itself, and then the impact of internet. As I mentioned, it used to be a sector, but it's economy as a whole. So there are a lot of it's a big bang of tech innovations. So these things will not keep us silent. So like every day when I wake up, I get a lot of messages, quite a lot from existing companies, but also new referrals. So like every day, it's a new or exciting journey that we are onto. So this keeps us pretty young.
And my last question is there any story that investment story actually that you missed to invest and startup grow fast, etc., and you regret? Do you have any regret?
On the portfolio.
Yeah.
Well, life is short, so I try not to regret, but as a matter of fact, I regret. And I think that good investment deals happen in my case when I'm super busy, right? Like and then during within those a lot of meetings, you get a call with one of your friends. Oh, Teru, by the way, there's this company who is raising today. Maybe they would close next week. Oh no, I'm having these things this week, so maybe I can. These things, this situation is a dangerous one for me. So I missed. I can admit. When there's a company called Gojek in Indonesia, which is now Dekakon, the ride-hailing super app. Of course, it's not a situation that you maybe imagine, but I got a call from my friend from Indonesia. Oh, Sato-san, there's a company of my friend doing this and that and that, doing bike ride-hailing. It's a Uber for bike. Okay, well, that sounds interesting. So let me know when things move, and then. But because I was moving around, I was still that time in Tokyo. So these things happen, but you can, it's life is too short to regret. And then we are now good friends. Actually, we sold two companies to Gojek afterwards, both payment businesses, and then we are really good friends. So like these things, Anyway, that's some regret, to be honest.
Yeah, it's impossible probably not to have it.
Teruhide, thank you very much for this valuable time and answering our questions. We are very happy to host you back online and hope to see you back in Istanbul after these Corona days, AC. And also, we would like to invite you back as soon as possible back to Istanbul.
Well, we'd love to. Thank you very much for having me here. And then hope to see you sometime very soon. And then just stay well, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you very much.
Rica ederiz.
Thank you.